Hey, it's Shapes! And welcome to another edition of AniTube Digest, where we go over the best and not so best anime YouTube videos to come out this week from the 29th of May to the 6th of June. God damn it, it's another double stuffed digest, and, of course, fuck me. Well, first for the video that, I thought was not good. It was better. It's still a lot better than what he made. There is definite improvement, but it just had so much about it that I was frustrating to watch, baffling, and the rest of it's like okay, and kind of heard before, so I couldn't really bring myself to give that much of a decent or or anything like that. And everyone's talking about it. Oh my god. Bennett the Sage putting out his Evangelion video, Nothing Ever Ends, Part 1, 90 minutes. All right. And this is just covering the TV series and the movie, End of Evangelion, a little bit of Death and Rebirth, but not really. And then the Rebuilt are assumably going to be Part 2, because the Nothing Ever Ends part in the title is referring to just he couldn't let it go, I guess, and that's all. His points are going to be all in that second half, I suppose, in terms of that angle, I guess, because it's End of Eva is he's going on that angle of Anno rejecting otaku and go pursue something else and move on, and then he doesn't because he doesn't, and the whole whatever. So we'll see what he says about that. I mean, and so I was kind of apprehensive of reviewing this video at first, because it's half of a video, really, even though it's so long, but it got a lot of response. I literally saw Evangelion trending on Twitter at one point today, but it's got a lot of buzz, and people have been wanting my thoughts about it. Of course, it's flattering. It's the first time I actually got added on Twitter for covering a video, actually. Thanks. And then seeing my boss get kind of quote treated for praising it, for giving it a comp. He's like, this is a great video, but I don't think anyone made the point, and I didn't know this until I watched the whole video. He's credited in the video for research help, so it's only cordial if you worked on a video or contributed to a video that you share it. That's kind of a common thing. And obviously he didn't make a point about that or whatever. Although I guess you could make the argument that he's saying that this is actually more well-researched than other anime YouTube videos or something. And there's a bit of a conflict of interest because he's credited here as research help. But no, it's fine. He's been on the internet for longer than I have, been in this fandom for longer than I have. We're on good terms. This is all separate. I can talk freely about this and it doesn't make a difference. But be nice. I just like I don't like seeing my mutuals fight and block each other, okay? I like different, and it was also kind of awkward that a lot of people didn't know that that I'm on his payroll, which is really funny. I don't make a secret about it. Weird that you don't know. But anyway, it was just funny. But that happened, and I was just caught in that little thing, and so there's all this build-up. And I also saw Critical stream about it and react to it. I didn't see the whole thing. I peeked in the last 10 minutes or so of him talking. He didn't like it. It doesn't seem like Eva fans like this video. And that was the impression I was getting. And so my impression going into this video was he's matured, and it's more like his Harmageddon video, which is very research driven, and but at the same time he doesn't sound like he's matured on his opinion. It sounds like it's kind of the same one, and it is, but it's not couched in any of his gripes, or it's not emotionally charged at all. It's worded in ways where he's observing it. Yes, Shinji is unlikable for these very specific reasons, and he's not putting any he's obnoxious like he had in his other. I can't even watch his other videos. I tried before watching this video, and it's insufferable. He's made 2 videos. I don't know if most people reference his End of Evangelion video, which is more well known, but he also has a video on Death and Rebirth that he made before, and both of them came out in 2012, December 2012, and he uploaded on YouTube later. It's on his website that he has. So almost 10 years ago that he made that. And a person's Matthew Matosis made this observation that a person's cells all regenerate over the course of 10 years. So by the time 10 years have passed, they are physically not even the same person anymore. So fair. And I know I don't want to judge him on that. But it was weird to me, this entire video, cover to cover, not a single mention of his previous videos, which are still public and up on YouTube. You know, like with Super Eye Patch Wolf unlisting his videos, right? If you don't stand by those videos anymore, you should unlist it. Make it still available and have it in the description or whatever, and, you know, not hide it. But like, if you're making this public, those two videos public on your channel that you can watch right now, and then have this video out, and not even in the video at all reference the fact that you've covered these videos before. There's a line that you have in the video, like towards the beginning, where he finally gets to talk about Eva. 8 minutes into the video, he finally brings up Eva. This is all this preamble and stuff. He says, like, this was inevitable. And it says in the description of his death and rebirth thing, inevitability, thy name is Evangelion. You're literally just repeating yourself. And that gave me the impression that early into the video that you really haven't really budged or changed your opinion that much on the show, but you're just instead going to redo it and just kind of put more thought into the quotes and more sympathy towards Anno. A lot of sympathy is given towards Anno here, more than I usually see, which is nice. I appreciated that. It's still way better than his previous. Like, good lord, it's insufferable. Those previous two, I couldn't even make it through some of them. Fuck. So there's definite improvement, and I like that. And the breath is interesting. There's a lot of detail here, and there's a couple things. I took stupid amounts of notes. I was I was a little like apprehensive or, you know, worried about covering this video on Digest, because like I'm not Eva Fib Stan or whatever, but I want to do this, you know, justice and everything, because it's clearly people seem to have problems with it. Also the fucking quote tweeting and everything, like he almost got like ratioed on his initial tweet of like someone below replying with the Anno reference. No, it's just an excuse to make Ultraman references. Yeah, that's bullshit. Like, and it's also in his video. Like, he's not stupid. Bennett knows that, because it's in the video where he's talking about the Christian symbolism, and he shows the Ultraman clip that you have in the fucking image macro that the person's ratioing for. It's so stupid. Like yes, he knows. And that's also just not the point, right? And I'm happy some people are coming to the realization it really is not one or the other extreme. It's somewhere in the middle. But one last thing before I get into the notes and everything, I was just kind of disappointed in... Oh, two more things, actually. Fuck it. I was kind of disappointed overall in the focus of this video being very narrative and thematic and character focused, when, for me at least, kind of the marvel with Evangelion, and you touch upon it in a few places when you talk about the last two episodes, as well as the end of Evangelion, that they are visual spectacles. And the craft on display is actually really impressive. It's a very entertaining show, and that's kind of why it got popular and got all this merch. And he questions that, and I was like, I don't understand. If it's all about the cerebral stuff, why did it get all this? Why does it have this popularity of Star Wars? I don't know, because it has cool action in it, and great music, and great character designs and animation, and impeccable voice acting, which we'll get to his reasonings for the dub later. Like, why? The opening scene. The first thing you show of Evangelion in this video, like 8 minutes in, is the Shinji scream from End of Evangelion. And you use the Netflix dub. And that's not, you know, a bad take or bad performance. I'm not knocking the Netflix dub. But, like, it kind of defeats the like, why are you using that dub when... And he gives a full fucking diatribe of why he's using the Netflix dub. And it completely avoids... Why are you not just using the Japanese audio? That's the iconic, like, I'm sorry, fucking Megumi Obata, I think it's Megumi Obata, I'm sorry. The Seiyu for Shinji is the peak. It's just, that's the one you use. And there's no translation bullshit that you're talking, like, I'll get back to it later. I'm sorry I'm hopping around a little bit. I just wanted to get, like, general thoughts in the beginning here, and then I'll go through the fucking notes, because I'll probably lose track, and it's... So yeah, I was disappointed in the kind of the production aspect being not very well baked, and I'll get to some points about that. And then the other thing that is kind of getting a common point of criticism seeing, at least from Pause and Select, was the lack of sources. There are sources in the video itself, not complete though. And so like I was annoyed by that too, and so I just fuck it. I just listed them for you. It's in the description. I have a list of, I counted 24 sources that I could tell like they're genuine, for quote or something, and then it has it like on the side. Some of them I may have missed a couple or whatever, but there's 24 that I found, and I happen to notice a pattern. Kind of towards the end of the video, maybe the last fourth of it, it starts giving these sources of things that he doesn't give the source for, or just like he's giving. There's multiple times in this video where he says Kazuya Tsurumaki speaking, or Hideaki Anno speaking, or Sadamoto speaking, and he doesn't say where or when they're speaking. I don't know where the source is coming from, so there's no way for me to source it. But I listed it. I gave all the time codes. There you go. The people complaining about it, no longer a complaint. I know obviously I shouldn't need to do that, but there you go. There, it's right there. Time codes and things that I could find. I just literally just Googled some of the, like, in quotations, the quotes, just to see where he's getting them from. And a lot of them are from Eva Monkey and whatever, and the common places that most people are getting Eva quotes, And that was kind of one thing I was observing, where it's like, yeah, it is nice that there's a lot of quotes and everything like that. But not a whole lot that feels additive all that much. It feels like a lot of these are referenced multiple times, and you're kind of treading water here. And it made me be like, what is this video for? Like, it's just, I don't know how there's some things that, sure, little things I can maybe learn here and there, but I want to get this out right now. I don't know if he's planning to release. I thought I had the thing where it seems like he's wanting to release it early. I'm sorry if that's incorrect, but Steve, I was fortunate to have a little cameo of sorts in Steven's Evangelion section of his grander Anno retrospective, talking all about Hideaki Anno's career, very as thorough as you can be. And he's finished his Evangelion section more or less. It's like 18 minutes, and it's the same, covers the same thing that Bennett's covering, from TV series to end of it. Not even end of Eva, actually. He doesn't even cover end of Eva. He gets to that point, but he doesn't fully cover it, I don't think. And it's great. It's so much better. It's so much more what I want out of the series, which looks like it's little bits that I never heard of before, or aspects of production that, like the editing, like negative cutting and stuff like that, I've never heard of before. Like, it was genuinely additive, and also very artistically done, and bereft of any of his opinions of the thing, I guess. And I just kind of reading it, I don't know, I just preferred that approach. And so I would just say that's a thing, and I would say look forward to that. I think that's going to be much better. If you were disappointed in this video, I'd say look forward to this, personally. So I also had that in my mind of just like, I would have preferred that, but this is what we got. So with all of that, multiple things out of the way, that probably would be enough to cover it on its own, but I'm going to go through my notes because I took a long time. It's like 9:30. I'm gonna put the work, actually use my notes. Okay, so actually this first one is really interesting, and it was it really put me in the right mindset for this video of kind of like, okay, not exactly trusting a lot of what he's saying. I think a lot of it seems accurate and fair. It didn't seem like wholly weird or anything like that, but this was just not a great foot to put forward for the first thing. He starts with a quote, and you don't see what the quote is. The quote is, "We owe a great deal to otaku maniacs, but we cannot make good works if we only pander to them." And you're like, who is that? I'm watching an Evangelion video. Perhaps it's Anno. Perhaps it's someone involved with the production. No, it's Leiji Matsumoto. Okay. And the entire video it never references this quote ever again. It's relevant because it's with the end of it's kind of rejecting otakuism and things like that. And, he spends this whole intro section before even talking about Evangelion or Gainax or anything. Like, the fucking otaku killer again. Not from him, I guess, but I feel like he probably mentioned it in another video somewhere. But like, he also mentions the sarin gas attack later on and makes like a speculation later. I'll probably mention it, but like, it's like tired stuff like that. I'm like, okay. But regarding this Leiji Matsumoto quote, it just says Leiji Matsumoto June 10th, 1980. And I'm like, okay, when did he say that? Well, not when, but like, in what context is this in? As I knew, again, from hearing about this video, is that there's no sources. He doesn't list anything in the description. It's in the video. So I'm like, fuck it, fine. I'll Google the quote, just in quotes or whatever, in the quotations, and you find it. There's like 6 results. And one of them is Daryl Surratt, who just tweets seemingly with no reason. There's no context behind it. It's just the quote. And then he puts in parentheses, like, mentions that this is before otaku was a common word. As if, like, Leiji was somehow ahead of his time or something. It gives that impression, right? And he seems very prescient, and it's like, oh wow, from this wise guy, Leiji Matsumoto, if you don't know, is the creator of Space Battleship Yamato, Captain Harlock, Galaxy Express 39. And so I'm like, okay, where is this? And I find it. It's in the source, in this first source in the description, and it is from what I'm assuming is Animage. It's from Monthly Animation, which the only Japanese magazine talking about anime is in the 1980, where this article does say this interview was conducted June 10th, 1980. Probably Animage, my guess, but it's on this. It's the whole interview is in the description, and there's discussing B for Yamato. The reason I'm bringing this up is because it's really not a quote from Leiji. From what I could, not really. It's a header. You know how, like, when you read an article in a magazine, to kind of spice it out or visually represent, they give the big tagline quotes throughout the article, kind of inserted a little bit in the middle. And so this is one of them. It is, we owe a great deal to maniacs, but we cannot make good works if we only pander to them. And here's the context. Here's the full quote. It starts with the interviewer saying, "What do you think of the criticism that anime is for obsessive maniacs?" And the editor's note is saying this piece was published before the word otaku entered common use. So they used, like, the Japanese word for maniac, I guess, and not specifically otaku, but he's obviously probably talking about otaku. And Matsumoto says, "That's embarrassing because I am one." Haha. That's not what I was expecting. I can't help but pay my respects, because a large number of them is needed to actually make anime. So whether or not they are worthy of praise, I have to take their side. Whenever we watch a movie, something in it appeals to our mania, and we watch with single-minded innocence. Such aspects are in the realm of personal taste that others may not criticize. I think a mania can exist with full freedom. People who call themselves maniacs watch so many things. It is possible that they become biased, but on a technical level, they have keen appreciation, and they improve their ability to judge things in their field. But we can't make a good work if we only pander to such people. They may throw stones at me for saying this, but that's my attitude. They are an important part of our audience, and their opinions often provide me with useful information. That is pretty much a full-chested endorsement of otaku, save for the one line. Save for the one line. I just thought that was so weird and fascinating. I really liked that quote from Leiji, because he acknowledges how valuable they are, even that early in 1980. And there's that whole thing with Tomino's generation with Mobile Suit Gundam starting the new type era and stuff like that. That was a really big deal, and Yamato was kind of swept into that as well, for the Be Forever Yamato and things like that. So that was kind of deceiving, I think. Not a great start to the video for me, because I looked into the full quote. And so that could be applied to a lot of his quotes, right? A lot of any of these things. And so that, like, the whole, quoting things is good, sourcing your shit, that's great. And I think it does add to the video. But I do think there's a bit of caution to have, because there's I said this in Critical stream, I was thinking that there's the facts, and then there's the narrative. There's the things that did happen, like the things that people did say, but there's the entire context behind it, and it's what you're using this for to spin what kind of narrative, And so it's a little slippery with Bennett. I don't really know if he's fully rejecting otakuism or not. I think he is, but I don't know. I don't really know. It's weird. And so, like, that was a thing that I started with, and I'm like, oh God. I'm going to be here fucking forever. And turns out I was. Yep, bringing in the otaku video from 1994. You know, a lot of similar sources that a lot of people are pulling from. There's a couple moments when he's bringing up these sources and I'm looking up to find something to link you guys with the description. And I was realizing that it's like a lot of them seem to be just a lot of people are pulling from the same place. Like this is one quote from a psychologist, I guess, and a lot of people refer to it because this has been studied before. A lot of people have looked into the phenomenon of otaku for a long time. And it just is weird that he's presenting this in such a ham-fisted, as if we've never heard this information before kind of way. I just don't know how additive it ended up feeling, because a lot of it just kind of felt like, yeah, I've heard this before. Yeah, okay. You know? And I don't know. I wasn't too into it personally. The framing of this and all the handling here. Also how somber he was giving the delivery with talking about it, and the spacey music, the vibes he was giving, very not welcoming, I don't think. It was a little like weird to me. I don't know if I personally enjoyed it. Yeah, and again, it was so weird that he's introducing Toshio Okada firstly as this academic, and he makes this quote about otaku being kind of the best fit for this new capitalist mainstream whatever. And then he's like, and afterwards he says it's a financially incentive for Okada to be saying this because he used to be the president and co-founder of Studio Gainax. Like it's a fucking mic drop or something. And I'm like, I don't know. If you've been to this long enough, I don't know. I guess his audience probably that's new information. I guess. I don't know. It just kind of was tiresome. And it's like, if that's the kind of tone I'm going to have through the entire video, like we're not even at Evangelion yet, and you're just giving me all this stuff that's so fucking hand-holdy. It's like, it's just, it's exhausting, basically. But maybe I'm just in too deep, and that could just be me. This was funny. He's saying how like Gainax got this appeal. They had a lot of problems, but they got this kind of appeal. They built upon the universal foundations of near universal themes of growing up, figuring out who you are, and finding your own way in this life. Those are the same things, Bennett. Growing up, figuring out who you are, finding your own way in life. Those are all the same thing. Am I wrong? I mean, there's a bit of nuance to it, sure. But like, and yeah, I'm a fan of Fukumoto. I like when people give like synonyms and things like, but like you framed it as universal themes, as if you're going to give more than one theme, and the sense of being the same theme reworded 3 different times. You know what I mean? That was just kind of like a little annoying. And I was starting to notice, and then the quote directly after this, actually, he says, as well as a tiny, minuscule, microscopic, quantum amount of anime culture references. Haha, tongue-in-cheek, yeah, that's what they're known for. And showed also the most random relevant clips to prove it, like the scene from Fooly Cooly where they reference Lupin the Third, and of course the Talk No video, but it's the clip where they're taking photographs, and the only real reference in it is Cobra, not like the pan of. He doesn't show the pan. I've edited a video like this, and I've made the same points. Literally could have used Daikon, which he mentions Daikon later, and then like panning. There's that pan in it. There's a shot in the Talk No video where he's panning and you see Lupin, Harlock, Lumpermerse Yatsura. I think Char Hasnable. Like, there's so much better clips from Otaku video you could have pulled from. I don't understand why that was just a weird choice. I know it's a nitpick, but like, that's just it. Yeah, and I remember something I was going to say also with the introspection thing. There's no self-awareness or introspection in this video of him talking about Evangelion. No reference. It's as if he never did it before. Maybe he forgot or something. But like, to contrast, Tristan from Glass Reflection, he also put out an hour-long Evangelion video on the rebuilds, I think last 2 weeks ago or very recently. I covered it on Digest and I enjoyed it. But a lot of that was because he brought up his previous Eva reviews and how he was one of the first things he was going to make was a review on Evangelion Rebuild 1.0. and things like the insight into that you'd never heard of before as from a creator, and the introspection and like his personal breakup with Evangelion was compelling, beyond him talking about the show itself in the same way that Bennett is. But like Bennett is kind of reframing it as like the first time anyone's talked about the show or something, or just like, I'm finally gonna say the thing. The Christian symbolism doesn't matter that much. Come on. We know. This is not a new idea. I'm going to prove that it's not a deconstruction. I'm tired of them calling it a deconstruction. Yeah, so are the rest of us. I know. A lot of us know. Why are you presenting this? Also, I wrote this down. You provoked that. You were provoking that. Like, not provoking. What was the thing? There's a point where he quotes, "It doesn't provide any meaningful." The deconstruction parts, the fact that like Shinji doesn't want to get in the robot, whatever. It doesn't provide any meaningful insight into Shinji's character. He says some more things. What's worse is that this kind of critical lens of like calling it, faming it as a deconstruction, is what ultimately led to so many people to turn on the series and miss the central thesis of the show. Like yourself? Because you clearly missed the mark last time. There's no self-awareness. There's no introspection. You literally shouted at the screen during your Death and Rebirth video, "Get over yourself, Shinji." Wait, what are you doing? What is this? Who are you talking about? The old people who used to review this show. Like yourself? I couldn't believe it. I don't understand. There was a note that I made right as he's starting to finally talk about Evangelion. He has like an intro. He has like a little AMV intro, and it's fun. It's good. And I was like, this is leaps and bounds better than what you were making 10 years ago already, just because of this montage. I love this type of stuff. It was more or less a first for him, too. Aside from some of the intros he had very early on, where his intro was edited by Kaiser Neko, or Scott, Scott, who's Kaiser Neko, from Team 4-Star. And then I got to the credits, and it says intro by Kaiser Neko. Okay, never mind. He just made another one. He just made it again. You didn't make... All right. That was disappointing. I was like, come on. Can't make that? Come on. It wasn't very, like, the most flashy thing ever where I'm like, I can't believe Bennett made this. It was really just clip selection. And, kind of catchy, simple at that. It was good. I liked it. I liked the AMV sequence. But it was just weird. I was like, oh, he just made it again. Okay. That kind of took the wind out of my sails a little bit. Still liked it, though. Oh, this was funny. If you want a more in-depth... The way he frames this, because he's showing some clips from, like, what I'm assuming is Kingdom of Dreams and Madness, or maybe the NHK doc or something like that. And, he's talking about Miyazaki's relationship with Anno and him working on Nausicaa and stuff like that. And then he says, if you want a more in-depth look at Miyazaki, as well as some stories regarding him and Anno's relationship, check out my review of Princess Mononoke. Oh, okay. Look, that happens all the time. Of course, if you make videos, you want to reference, you want to send people to other places and they watch more of your stuff. I've done that in my Gurren Lagann video when I bring up Dazaki. Oh my god, it's Osamu Dazaki, the premier classic anime director. And then I have the little iCard, just like Bennett does, in the corner where he references a video and stuff like that. That's fine. But it was just kind of like, the approach was strange. I was just blindsided because I thought you were going to recommend some documentary, because you've done it you do it a little later in other places. Like, oh, this is from some behind the scenes footage. This is from a special where he talks to some kids, and some of the sources he gives, and again, not in the description, but you can find them easily, and I have them linked in the description, whatever. But like, he does that a few times, but then there's the blind side of like, oh, watch my other video. I'm like, what? Oh. And he does it later with G Gundam, actually, when he mentions G Gundam. I'm like, oh, okay. So that was a thing. And then, yeah, some of the humor in this, I've seen one person at least complain about the humor of how kind of ham-fisted and corny it is or something like that. And it's still a heck of a lot better than his old Eva videos, which was just fucking miserable. Because it's all caked in, I hate this show, I hate this show, I hate this show, I hate this show. No qualms, no reservations. You're not trying to figure out. And that was one thing I guess was frustrating about this video too. That like, at least the other videos were honest. This video, he does not give away his cards ever of whether he really likes the show or not. He's just talking about it. And importance of it, right? But there's that threshold, and there's only a few peaks here and there. Maybe an hour into the video, I made note of, like, I think this is the first time that he says something along the lines of, I liked this thing. And I'm not like demanding you say something you like or didn't like, but it's sort of, everything else is either backhanded or criticism or just straight up facts, you know? And straight up facts is fine, you know, but it's just, it was just weird. I don't know how much what his real thoughts on it are. You know, I can't gauge that. And if that's not clear to the audience, I personally think that creates a source of tension. So it doesn't matter how many quotes you're giving out or information it's nice, but I'm having that weight over my head, but like, but what do you really think about it? You know, you kind of have to squash those qualms right away at the beginning of the video. I think if you just be like, Evangelion is really cool, or it's like, that was really, you know, I like to give you a at least the other videos were just like, I'm gonna be honest with you, I do not like this series, which, you know, its own problem. I think personally as a viewer, I'm just like, oh, why should I listen to you then? Personally, but I don't know. I guess I'm making a criticism of like, you didn't like the show, therefore I don't like the video. Perhaps that's the case. I don't know. I just think there could be better ways of doing it. I couldn't tell you precisely, but that was just a vibe I was getting. I can't even gauge what the video is about, really. What is this for? What are you trying to say here? You know, is it a review? And this is something that I've been trying to wrestle with my own video, with Naruto and stuff, because people ask, I tell them it's 3 hours, and they're like, so is it a review? And I just say like, no, it's just things I liked. And I feel so stupid, you know, and whatever. I get it. And that's really difficult. You have to really make that clear in the video, I think, or even in the title and thumbnail. It's an artsy thumbnail, I'll give it that. I kind of like it, but yeah, that's what's difficult about it. Anyway, I keep tangenting on. There's so much more notes. God, it's going to be an hour. Spooky recording is going to be an hour. Enjoy. Fuck me. It's a point he says about the 90s recession I thought was kind of interesting. He says that anime wasn't in any real danger of dying. The major tentpoles of Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon were doing exactly what tentpoles are made to do. Except, was Sailor Moon really considered a tentpole? It was popular, yes. It was a very successful series. Easily. But, like, so was Yu Yu Hakusho. You know? And, I mean, on the same level of Sailor Moon, perhaps. But it's just weird to me, because I agree Dragon Ball Z is a tentpole. Because it was part of a larger franchise, or just, you know, kind of a long-running thing that Toei had been cultivating since 1981, for over a decade at that point. Because it started with Dr. Slump. They found a series and they animated for 243 consecutive episodes. And then almost directly after that, or I think it was pretty closely after that, did they just pick it right back up and do Dragon Ball. And then they did Dragon Ball for 153 episodes. And then they went right into Dragon Ball Z. And if I'm not mistaken, the part of the whole Z thing and the rebranding of that was part of Toei wanting to continue, right? At least I'm familiar with that. I'm not sure. And that went for another 291 episodes. And then they went with GT right after that. Like, this is an engine. This is an engine that they were called, you know? Like an ongoing thing that they can be constantly working on and constantly getting a source of money from. So that's a tentpole. And yes, that's a pretty substantial tentpole for them. Sailor Moon, it just started in 1992. You know, and it ran for a few years. It certainly was successful. But it was also Toei, right? Isn't that weird? It's like you're thinking about anime as a whole dying. Oh, it's okay. Toei has Dragon Ball and Sailor Moon. You know, it sounds weirdly limited when you put it that way, right? I agree it's in a dire place. I'm not disagreeing with your point about the 90s and everything. You're right, the OVA boom is kind of drying up and whatever, that's been widely documented. But just this point about tentpoles was just strange to me. You know? And it's just like, Maybe I'm just being too nitpicky. Oh, but this was weird. Right afterwards, he says, in fact, Evangelion would be on TV Tokyo in the same time slot as Sailor Moon in 1995. Now this stuck out to me, and this is why I researched. I don't usually like go out of my way to fact check videos because it would take me fucking forever, as this video did, as it did. God. So I usually don't do this, but there was that thing that kind of stuck in my craw of like, wait a minute, Sailor Moon was definitely airing in 1995. Like, it was still going. How are they in the same time slot if they were both airing at the same time? And so I was like, oh, wait a minute. So what were the time slots that Eva was airing in and what Sailor Moon was airing in? Because of course he doesn't say that. He just says that they're in the same time slot. And so I looked into it, and the way you do this is, I've probably mentioned this before, you really look at Japanese Wikipedia, because they have so much information, including the broadcasting, including like, it's breaking down by region, like literally like Nagoya, all the different Japanese regions and what TV station and what times, because they were all different, that they aired in. And it's like, it's a whole thing. And I looked into it, and Sailor Moon aired on Saturdays at 7 p.m. on TV Asahi, the TV station. Eva aired on Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. on TV Tokyo. That is the completely different day, time slot, and TV station. And I looked into it, Sailor Moon never aired on TV Tokyo, and probably during a rerun or some other, like one of the prefectures or something, Eva did do a little bit. One place had TV Asahi, but it wasn't the same day and it wasn't the same time slot. I could be wrong about that. I could be just getting wrong information or something, but like, where is he getting that information about them being the same time slot? And ultimately, the point he makes doesn't really make that much of a difference. It's not a big teetering, like, oh my god, it completely debunks his argument or something. But like, little sloppy things like that, it just makes me question it, and then it makes me question the rest of the video. Just like the Leiji Matsumoto quote at the beginning, right? I'm just like, wait, where does that come from? And I do my own research, and now I don't really trust your video, right? As much as the rest of it sounds right. So that's really difficult. That's something I found difficult. And a small thing, but I just thought it was interesting. I was like, wait, it's in the same time slot? And maybe he's right. That's totally fair. Maybe I'm just mistaken. I looked from my research, doesn't seem that way. But, I didn't give a timestamp or whatever, or double check this, but like, he really went into a lot of detail from what Gainax was doing between Nadia and Evangelion. And it was fascinating and good. And like, I'm happy it seems to have a lot more detail than something that I had in my Gainax section on Gurren Lagann. But didn't he hand wave this earlier, that he said like the history of Gainax is a whole other story, a whole other video. And yet you're still dwelling on it. That's why this video is so long. There's so many of these little aspects here that he takes a long time on that I'm like, why are we spending time on this? I'll list a couple of them later, but like, there's several moments of this I'm just like, this does not need to be in here. Or if anything, it's kind of detracting from your point, I think, or it's not very additive. So that was difficult. But yeah, I mean, I appreciate it. It's cool, I guess, but why are you contradicting yourself? It sounds like you're contradicting yourself, where you lampshade, we're not going to get into the history of Gainax, don't worry, and yet you get into the history of Gainax. You know what I mean? I did like this connection he makes to finally get into Eva, because Anno was kind of running away from the industry and not doing a whole lot, and Shinji and Evangelion was kind of his opportunity to come back, and he chose the clip of Shinji, you mustn't run away, you mustn't run away, you mustn't run away. I'm like, okay, that's a cool connection. That's nice. There's a couple points in this video where I'm just like, that's good, but it's kind of few and far between, I think. Okay, God. So he just all of a sudden he's like, we need to be on the same page. I need to explain why I'm using the Netflix dub. First of all, or you could not, or you could just not explain it. That's fine, and just have something that people could just be upset about. Or you can give 4 reasons that are so bad that completely make the thing worse, in my opinion. Oh my God. And he says, reason 1, the most readily available HD footage for the series in America has the new dub. And I'm not spending $175 on the special edition just so I can have the first dub, the ADV dub, in HD. My guy, it's a video. You can match footage and audio in whatever way you want. You can literally take, if you have footage from your old whatever, like, I don't know if you have the ADV release of Evangelion or not. Probably. I don't know. Never mind the whole fucking just. You don't have to buy it. I get it. Piracy. I get it. Anti whatever. Sure. Okay. You want to be legit. Okay. If you have access to the ADV dub, which you probably do, if you have the ADV collection, if you have the discs, and if your reason is because it's not the HD footage, you have the HD footage and you have the ADV audio. You can match them together. Just say you don't like it at that point. Like, you don't even use the clips that often. Maybe like 20 times. It's not even that bit much. You talk a hell of a lot more than the show does. What is the point? Like, but then that's not even the other thing. Why are you using the dub? He never explains why he does not use the Japanese audio. Because people are like, we don't want you to use the ADV. He's like, fans will probably get upset at me for not using the ADV dub. The one everyone fucking hates. And like, they have problems with the Netflix dub too. The Japanese, what's wrong with using the Japanese audio? Especially for fucking Shinji Scream? What is the first point? Here's the second. Reason 2. God. Reason 2. Dan's translation. Dan's the official kind of Kara correspondent, and he's his translation. Dan's translation is much more accurate to the original Japanese. Or, I don't know. Use the original Japanese if that's something you really want to worry about. What are you doing? And it's not like he's like, no, I don't want people to read. I don't want people to need to read the subtitles. There's so much footage and clips and audio of Anno speaking Japanese, and it's not dubbed, and it's subtitled, and it's fine. What's the point of making it the dub? And I'm not anti-dub or anything. God, I'm not. I really am not. I don't give a fuck. But, like, you're giving reasons, and you're not giving a good enough reason of why you're not using the Japanese audio. Like, what's going on here? The third reason. It's like 2 minutes. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but like 30 seconds. It's just a long, drawn out thing of like, translation's hard, okay? It's not going to be one for one. The translation is not the issue here. It's just not. It's not. It's just the aesthetic and delivery of the audio. No one gives a he's like, look, if I use in the fourth reason, why don't I just use the Japanese audio? Maddening. Absolutely maddening. If I use the Japanese audio, I'd still be using Dan's translation. See reason 3. The translation's hard, okay? Yeah, then just use the Dan's translation if that's what you give a shit about. Who cares? And again, what does this have to do with Shinji's script? Like, again, maybe I'm just being way too hyperbolic. I just can't believe you would go out of your way to defend a choice, an artistic choice, and thereby making the choice look way worse than if you didn't say anything at all. God, you know what I mean? That's maddening. Oh my God. And then like a minute, like 30 seconds later, after he's explained it, he's talking. Oh my God. I'll just condense all the points into this part right here. There's a lot of hand-wringing over the pronunciations and the proper terminology, and it's not proper grammar to call them first children, second children, third children. The show is fiction. You can call it whatever the fuck they want. Seal, Sele, it does not matter. Nerve, Nervo, like, why are you being pedantic about this? This is not reasons why people like or dislike the fucking show. What are you talking about? What's going on? And like, this is why you need to use the Netflix dub. Like, and he's hammering over like, they're not called angels actually. The Japanese use Chito. Okay, show it to us. Like, it was so weird. He uses the Netflix dub to be like first, second, third children, whatever, as an example. And he's like, yeah, even the Japanese audio pronounces it first, second children phonetically. Okay, then show it. What's the harm in showing it? What's the deal with airplane food? I'm so fucking salty about this. What is going on? Who cares if it's actually not pronounced fucking... Oh my God. There's like a material that a real guy made, I guess. And I'm like, I didn't even know what that is. I didn't even know that was in the show. Who cares? I don't know. It's just you're like missing the forest for the trees, in my opinion. It's really, really disappointing. I will say though, there is a little bit of growth in recapping the series, and it takes him about 4 minutes because he's like, "Oh, skip to this time code or whatever for a recap," and it's 4 minutes, and that's way better than his last video where he's like, "It's impressive that Death and Rebirth recaps the whole show in 1 hour. I can do it in 1 sentence. Shinji is fucking obnoxious." Can you imagine 19 minutes of that? 32 minutes of that? And they're still public on his channel? What's going on? And he doesn't acknowledge it at all? Like, can you see? This was... When he finishes the synopsis, I'm sorry, it feels like we're fucking point by point. I'm leaving out a lot. There's quite the depth to lose themselves down a rabbit hole like I almost did. There's a reason this episode of Anime Abandon is as long as it is, and we will be sinking our teeth into every last morsel we can. Didn't you just say that, like, there's a lot that you're skipping over, and there's a lot of depth to lose themselves down a rabbit hole that you almost did, and we're gonna taste every morsel of it? He says, it's easy to see why Eva got so much American attention and focus, and also why a lot of those early takes kinda missed the mark. Like yourself? I don't know, maybe like, who is reviewing Evangelion in the year 2012? But also, to point of contrast with Steven's video, which is not out, and I'm sorry to spoil it a little bit. I'm sorry if I'm talking, I don't know that much about it, I guess. But I liked that Steven brings this point up, actually. Not about Shinji or the things that Bennett's specifically talking about, but the idea that, like, kind of give you a climate of what the takes are at the time. And he gives you a montage of Gigguk, Bennett, Michael Bay's Evangelion, the little college humor thing. Like, actually giving examples. Including Bennett. Like, what are you doing? I don't know. It just feels like you were making yourself above it all, and you're like, I figured it out, guys. When you're the one. Where were you 10 years ago? You know, again, it's a long time, great growth, and I see the growth in this video. Again, it's way better, way fucking better. But like, that was weird. Here's another thing where it's like, why is this in the video? He's talking about the Christian iconography, and it's all in the name of having a conversational cul-de-sac. And as far as talking about Eva, I can't imagine anything that would interest me less about the Christian imagery. Don't want to talk about it. You know, as Kazuya Tsurumaki said that it doesn't matter. We weren't really thinking of it that way. All right. Why did you spend 5 minutes talking about Japan's relationship with Christianity and giving a bunch of these references and quotes and research and everything, only to just be like, meh, it doesn't matter. It's just not worth thinking about. Well, the point that you were making was really interesting, of Japan's relationship as seeing it as kind of a more interesting cultural thing where, like, they're not practicing Christianity, but they're having a lot of Christian weddings because they like the aesthetic of it. And, they like that. And I thought that was an interesting point, because that actually really does tie into why they used it. And I think it's fine but why are you just kind of like, it doesn't matter. Fuck it. It's not that it doesn't matter entirely. You know what I mean? I think there can be a better nuanced conversation. I understand that that's what the creators were saying. It's like, we weren't really thinking that far deep into it. But that doesn't mean you can, like, completely write off everybody's personal analysis of it or looking into it, sort of thing. You know? That was just annoying to me, especially because you spend so long in the video, 5 minutes or so, talking about it and putting all this research in, only to just throw it away. You know what I mean? Like, why? I was happy to hear that there was some quotes from Ozma. I don't know his full name, but I know Ozma. And Steven also references him in this video. He could give me some quotes that he has. Not the same ones. But Bennett says that, you can read more about it in Ozma's magnum opus, Otaku, Japan's Database Animals, which was indispensable for my research. He does not quote from that book once. I don't know. Like, maybe some of the quotes that I source in the description there that I happen to find on Google from, all the different forums and whatever, that there's plenty of resources and stuff for what Anno says. But maybe some of this is from, the learning about the Otaku killer and stuff like that is from him. Like, that's sure. But it was just kind of weird to me that he's like, I use this book a lot, okay? It's really good. And then you don't quote from it. I don't. When you're quoting everything else, you're quoting so much other stuff. I don't know. It was just like weird to me. Even just one quote, I would have been like, yeah, cool. But that came off as strange. I'm like, that's weird. It's an hour in. Yeah, it's about halfway through the video, like 45 minutes into the video, and he never mentioned it once. And I guess maybe some of the quotes that he had been taking from are found in that book. Okay, fair. I don't know. It was weird, though. So he makes an argument that I'd never heard of before, and it could be real. He's taking it from Ozma, and he's saying it's not really fully confirmed. It's very speculative. But he's suspecting that the sarin gas attacks in 1993, 1993, I believe, kind of influenced the direction of the show and made them want to do some changes. And those last-minute changes are kind of what are the reason for it falling apart in the second half and having a lot of, like, covering the mouth, animation shortcuts, yada, 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 yada. And I guess that's an interesting theory, but it's not backed on anything. And it seems that there's a different... It sounds to me, based on what Stevens talks about, because, yeah, it's a trial by fire, and it was a rush, difficult, hard production. But he was saying it was because the scripts were taking longer and longer to write, and maybe not because of rewrites necessarily. And Bennett's kind of like speculating, and then maybe the show is supposed to go one direction, but they changed it last minute, and that's why the second half is so weird. I guess that it's a nice theory, but I don't think it's all that backed up that much, especially with how many sources you were referencing otherwise. It seems very well researched. It's so weird to have this little speculative thing that really hinges on this argument of Eva having this troubled production and shit like that. That was weird. That was kind of weird. Yeah, I don't. Tsurumaki was saying the schedule was a disaster, at least in Steven's video. So, yeah, I don't know. There's conflicting reports there. I'm not sure, but like I will say that Stevens does sound a little more credible in my opinion because there's more quotes around it and more practical. It doesn't seem very conspiratorial. Like, oh, the sarin gas attacks happened and they wanted to change the direction of the show. It doesn't sound conspiratorial. It really was just like, yeah, they had 14 episodes to animate in 6 months. That was it, and that's hard. So they had to outsource it to a lot of other studios, including Tatsunoko and Studio Ghibli, actually. So that was an interesting point that he makes that I'll let him make in his own video. It's interesting. Yeah, and I'm making these notes and I'm writing and I'm thinking about it. I'm kind of rewatching Steven's video a little bit, and then I press play again, and then he says it's the kind of mid-season slump in quality that we won't see again until Yuri on Ice. What? Where does that come from? And I physically recoiled. I was like, what? What do you mean? And it blindsided me. I can't remember Yuri on Ice even having something like that. And even then, from 1995 to 2016, there wasn't a TV anime that had a mid-season slump. Isn't that kind of a typical thing? Am I weird? Am I thinking this wrong? I'm starting to get a fucking headache. That just kind of, it was just an offhand comment. I just moved on after that. I'm just like, what was that? What do you mean? God. Yeah, and then I was still through this 45-minute video. I was like, is he gonna mention Tatsunoko worked on how Gainax couldn't do a full production, so they had to have Tatsunoko make most of it? And then he says Tatsunoko pinch hit? Where is he getting that? He didn't bring up a source at that point. But I've heard from Canepa with like Canepa's article on Gainax when he's talking about Evangelion. This is what I referenced in my video, that they outsourced most of it to Tatsunoko production. It's practically a co-production at that point. Similar to how Fooly Cooly is a co-production of Gainax and Production IG. It's kind of annoying. Like, it was a very small nitpick, like not that big of a deal, but like it was just kind of weird and annoying that he's talking about Gainax as a studio and he's using Fooly Cooly as footage. Like, yeah, they made it, they're involved, sure, but it's a co-production. Like, we couldn't use Karikano, you couldn't use Gurren Lagann, you couldn't use, I don't know, He Is My Master. No, I don't know if that was the one. Yeah, I think it's the maid one. Yeah. I don't know if that's co-production either. Monochromatic. I don't know. Die Buster. I don't get it. Yeah, small nitpick, really not a big deal. But like, yeah, that was weird. A pinch hit, is that right? I don't know what's real anymore. God damn it. And then there's this really nice stretch after that where like I really didn't have that much to, negative to say. I think he does show some really good growth. I really like that he's talking about connection. Eva's about connection. And there's an observation he has that's really nice about the focus on hands, reaching out, attacking something, etc., etc. I'm like, great. Yes, I agree with that's a great salient point. I wish it was more of that. And then I think the quotes. I think by now pretty much everyone by now is at least familiar with the meme "Getting the Robot Shinji." You mean the one that you perpetuated? That's been your staunch position for nearly 10 years? Because it's like you have the video still up, so if people are rightly assumed to believe that you stand by that opinion for 10 years. That's what people knew you for, dude. They knew you hated Eva and you just wanted Shinji to get in the robot. But then you very clearly acknowledge that, yes, even the show wants him to do that. It sounds like he has a much better understanding of the show and he gets it. And he says later, I like the visual metaphor of the train in episode 4. And I'm like, thank you. Good. It's like, man. Oh, let me explain who Carl Jung is. Oh, all right. Or you could just go ahead and say what you were going to say. It's no wonder this is 90 minutes. You don't have to explain who Carl Jung is. Just say it. I don't know. It's things like that. And also very overly verbose language. Obviously, I'm repeating myself, and this is way too long. But that's because I'm off script. I'm taking notes, but I'm not considering this a polished, recorded, edited type of thing, right? I think this could have had another couple passes with script-wise, or just condense the language a little bit. The last 2 episodes, he says, is, in my opinion, kind of a triumph. Okay, cool. I remember what you said in the Death and Rebirth video, where all you say is the last 2 episodes is all the characters sitting in folding chairs talking about themselves. That's it. Well, that was better. You grew. Good. Better. Much better. Why is that still public on your channel? Oh my god. How embarrassing. Anno might be the first target of an online hate campaign. Yeah, I kind of took that as a bit of a bold statement. It's kind of a general, it's a not projection, like a reach, Now when people are making this claim, it's hard to make that kind of claim. It's a little subjective. It's bold and perhaps true. He did get some online harassment, but I mean, it was still an anime that was very contentious and plot driven and mysterious and everything like that. So of course there was a lot of intense, heated anime debate. But I don't know, at least he showed a lot of sympathy for Anno, unlike his Death and Rebirth and End of Eva videos. So that was, again, a bit of growth, so that was nice. And then going into the merch stuff, it just said, Evangelion this, Evangelion that, Evangelion this, Evangelion that. So monotonous. I get you kind of made a little bit of like, oh, do you know there's a hip-hop concept album? Or things like that. That's fine. I just feel there was more artful, tactful ways of doing that. Because again, this is stuff that we know already. It's so much of this is like, yeah, I know, God. It was just, yeah. So that was a little annoying. Could have been a little bit better handled, in my opinion. He questions why it's got all this merch and got so popular. And I think it's because this whole time he's totally missed the core appeal of Eva as a mecha series and as an anime. And even right when he's like, he's so close. He mentions like how he was bonding with a fellow nerd because they both liked Kamen Rider. And he's so close. He's like, I didn't write down the quote, but it was something that was just like, almost got it, but he didn't quite get it. I'm sorry, I didn't write down a specific one, but yeah, I remember that. I was like, so close. Yeah, there's this moment where like he's using this footage from End of Evangelion, like behind the scenes stuff or stuff that they were filming for the movie, like the live action segments. And he's psychoanalyzing him of like, he must have creeped the staff out. I don't see him making them uncomfortable at all from the things that you show. And I wrote down, I know you always show the most blisteringly explicit example of what you're talking about. You're very on the nose when it comes to like, here's what I say, here's the clip. Like almost too on the nose sometimes for me personally. It's just like, ugh. But in that one clip, I was just like, I don't really see it. I think you're kind of reaching here personally. And then a lot of it kind of, kind of threw it. I was like, whatever. Kind of coasted the rest of it. When he's talking about End of Evangelion being depressingly sad, desperately sad and angry and mean-spirited, I kind of don't see that. I can see, I guess, where people might think that, perhaps. But I don't know. There's so much action and spectacle and evocative, surprisingly interesting imagery and drama. It's similar to how like Be Invoked is a great movie. Like that one has way more brutal deaths than Evangelion, in my opinion, and arguably maybe more bleak in terms of the like But like, I don't know. He also like Shinji doesn't he end up just kind of like walking back his decision, and he's just like he has this wish and I might be misinterpreting. Again, I'm not the big Eva fan, whatever. But it seemed to me that he made the decision to instrumentality, singularity, and made that choice, and everyone dies. Sorry for spoilers. And then, in the while still in there, still thinking it through, he realizes, not really. I kind of reject that. Or he walks it back, basically. And that's when the thing gets cut off and falls apart, and it's just him and Asuka. And then there's still that like tension they have, and he's still feeling that way. And she's like, "Yeah, Kimichi Ori." I get it. There's like a kind of thing on it, but like it's so dramatic and iconic and just so cool. And it's very stirring and moving. Maybe cathartic even. I don't know. I just get very satisfied from it. I guess some people can get like a pit in their stomach perhaps because they don't relate to Shinji or something. Or I mean, not like I really relate to Shinji that much. I just kind of see where his character's at, and it's like, yeah, anyone who's pushed to that point, sure. I don't know, but the indictment on the Otaku audience. Nah, I don't know about that. Especially, and it's also the case because he clearly wasn't over with the series, so I don't know how Bennett's part 2 is really going to fit into this. We'll see. And yeah, I just kept giving a little quotes here. I'm just one word, growth, because he says, "Still, the end of Evangelion still remains." Still remains. Does he say that in the end of Evangelion? I'm not bothering. I'm sorry, but I cannot stand. I couldn't stand fucking 5 minutes of the Death and Rebirth thing, and he made the end of Eva video the week after. I am not watching 32 minutes of that miserable sludge. That's mean-spirited. That is depressingly sad and angry. Like, though, if you want that, you made it, buddy. God. But yeah, most visually entrancing films I've ever seen. Great growth, and it's like the few times where he's finally actually talked about the artistic merits of this series. At the end. Great. Indictment on the otaku audience. Nah, I don't really think so. No wonder he sought the guidance of anime trash Miyazaki. I thought we were over this. He didn't say that. Why are you perpetuating? For all the things like, it's not a deconstruction, guys. It's, you ever hear the getting the robot meme? Well, here's why it's wrong. And then you still unironically use anime is trash Miyazaki. What's going on, guy? What's going on? No! Good Lord. And then, yeah, he just shows a clip of the rebuilds and he says, "Nothing ever ends." And that's end of part 1. Quite the unsatisfying cliffhanger, if you ask me. I felt very empty after finishing that video. I also, the whole advent of a 90-minute video and it says part 1 really kind of just puts a pit in my stomach, I guess. So maybe I was in the wrong headspace to watch this video, perhaps. I want to end this by saying congrats on the inevitable 100K subs. He's at 99.1. He's been doing this YouTube thing for 15 years. He's finally gonna get a plaque. And that's awesome. He deserves it. He absolutely, he can make all the shitty videos he wants. At the end of the day, you made content that a lot of people liked, and you put a lot of work into those, and you put a lot of work in, and you kept at it, and all the respect in the world to him. Congratulations when you get that. Still hasn't gotten it, but you'll definitely get it from this series, from this video and the next one. So congratulations in advance. I was not the biggest fan of this video, but it sure gave me a lot of shit to talk about, so much that you know what? It's 10:30. I'm not gonna this is gonna be a special digest. It's just this one. Sorry. This was not, I didn't intend it when I recorded this initially, but it ended up being an hour long for recording. So yeah, hopefully that was satisfying for people, and I did it justice, I suppose. Watch the video for yourself, of course, please. It's in the description, along with all the sources that I linked for him. Didn't need to do it, but I was curious, so I did it. Anyway, I will talk about the other 13 videos that I had ready to talk about for digest tomorrow. Tomorrow. You guys are great. You have a great week. I'll see you tomorrow. Yo, peace.